Cool. Welcome to the podcast.
Why, thank you.
I've got two of these podcasts currently running: Interview the Expat and Interview the Expert. And I was like, what one do I have Rhonda on? Because it's like, not only are you living here, which is a great opportunity, but you certainly, in my mind, fit into the Interview the Expert. So kind of like, when I was thinking, when I started this, or both of these shows, I was like, one, who do I want on? Obviously is important, but you represent in my mind my guest avatar, I guess you could say, for Interview the Expert. More because like I know more of your background around the side of Russell Branson and ClickFunnels, and then it's John DiMartino. I know you've ever had a taste there as well. So that's why I was like, right, I've got so many questions. And,
I love it.
And before kind of jumping on here, Rhonda was like, okay, I've got 45 minutes. It's been a long day. Hanalei's waiting for me, so let's get into some content. So we'll get stuck into it. So the people that are kind of watching this or listening to this, they can go onto YouTube. They'll see more of the B-roll about your background and kind of where you came from. But that's just a really quick introduction. So as we're getting into Interview the Expert, I always start with my guests with, what is their backstory that got them to where they are today? And I'm sure you've told this many times. But it's inspiring nonetheless, because I first started to hear your stories. You're sharing some of it through, I think you had an interview through Yogi Lab. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's some stuff that I hadn't heard from you before, and I was just like, wow, that's fantastic. So as far as expert in entrepreneurship, say, where did you make that transition from? I think you were in the corporate world to like, right, I'm going to leave and try and do this on my own. Like, where did that begin?
Yeah, well, let's see. I was in corporate for about almost 10 years, and I have a very unique story that was a pivotal moment in my decision from being this, MBA and groomed to run the Western division of one of the largest companies in the world. It's a Fortune 100 company, GlaxoSmithKline Pharmaceuticals. Don't judge me, because now I know how horrible that company was. I left a long time ago for those reasons. However, that was my mission. It was like, I'm going to be this big corporate executive. I'm going to run, the Western division of this company. And one thing happened to me that it changed my life forever, that turned me into realizing that, the money, the fame, the labels don't make you who you are, and the contribution that you can leave on the world. And one day, normal meeting, 1 hour in San Diego traffic, I go to our meeting, 7 a.m. starts. My boss, Jane, she's got the perfect hairdo. Her lips are super puckered because she's so uptight. She can't even stand herself. Yeah. And so we start this meeting, and a woman comes in about 15 minutes late. Yeah. And she sneaks in around the back of the office or, in the room. And Jane, you can just see it in her face. She's like, "You're late." And the woman just shudders, and she's like, "I'm sorry, Jane. My 6-week-old baby was just dropped off at daycare. And it was a really hard day. I'm sorry I had a hard time leaving her." And here you are thinking, this is another woman. This is a woman that has a brand new baby. And she said, "If you want this job, you're going to be here on time. You're going to drop the baby off early enough to get to the meetings on time. And I don't want to hear another excuse."
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, wait, I'm supposed to be Jane? This is what I've lived for, right? Everything that I've been groomed for, the masters, the work, like the drive to be bigger, that's who I'm going to become. And so something shifted in me that moment, because I hadn't really thought even about having kids. And I was 30 years old. I'm like, wait, if I take this role, I'm going to not only be her, but I'm also going to be her. Like I was going to be both of them. And so I just made a drastic decision that day, and I went home to tell Brian, "Hey, I just want you to know, I've decided that I'm not going to work corporate anymore. I'm going to quit my job." And he's like, "You got to be kidding me." Right? Like, we just want a 5-bedroom house so we can have kids, but we need your income. Yeah. And so that's when I said, look, I'm going to figure out a way to change our life. Yeah. And, the internet.
So you were 30 at the time?
Yeah. 47 now.
And what was Brian doing at the time?
Brian was a robotics engineer. He went to the University of Illinois. Yeah. We met surfing, though, in San Diego.
Oh, you used to surf as well?
Yeah, that's how we met. Surfing. But I broke my back like 15 years ago.
Ouch.
here in Bali, actually, in the Mentawais, in a big, huge wave, and changed my trajectory of life.
Wow. Do you have like screws or rods or anything like that, or you're just
No, but I nearly drowned. It was a pretty crazy one, and then I got pregnant with Hanalei shortly after, and I was like, I never felt it again. So
Wow.
it's still part of our family's life, but we were big wave surfers. That's why Brian's not here right now.
Yeah.
Because he's surfing like 20-foot waves.
Yeah.
Right.
I love it.
But that's what we used to do together.
Yeah, I said to him, because obviously I know that DiMartini background, when he's like, oh, hey, look, Rhonda said I could come, but it's forecasted to have a big swell. And I was like, all right, it's all right, dude. I know surfing is one of your highest values, so no problem. So,
yeah, he was quite impressed that you understood.
Oh, of course. I mean, there's that great background. But kind of, I remember in your story, I think it was one that you had with Yogi Lab. So you you wanted to shift out of that corporate role, and I'll touch on that shortly. But when you transitioned out, this is when, like, had you done a lot of personal development in the self-help world up until that point? Usually as entrepreneurs, we dive deep into self-help when we go into our entrepreneurial journey, meaning like either Tony Robbins or Bob Proctor or John DiMartini, right? So had you done a lot of that work up until then?
Yeah, I had been really studying, it started off with Think and Grow Rich, right? Yep. Kiyosaki, and then The Power of Positive Thinking, Norman Vincent Peale. I just started tapping in because I was also an athlete. I played women's U.S. softball. So I played for the women's U.S. national team before we were welcomed into the Olympics. Then I was too old at the time. So I was really always tapping into peak performance, right? Really how to keep not only my mindset straight, but also my body. And so when I decided to quit my job, I was listening to Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, right? It was more personal development on the sales side, right? So although, as you're, growing up in athletics, you're naturally already, a visionary. You're meditating, you're doing mindset, you're visualizing your goals. Like that's just stuff that you do as an athlete.
Yeah.
So I was already groomed for that, and it was already something part of my DNA. However, the company that I quit my job to work with was a personal development company that we resold products with Bob Proctor, Dr. John DiMartini,
okay.
Right, Joe Dispenza. I spoke on stage with Proctor, like one of my first big stage gigs in Australia with Bob Proctor.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'd already been really deep inside of that work, which was shifting, my mindset and my DNA really. Yeah. We had taken the Landmark Forum when I first decided to quit my job. Someone recommended, listen, if you want to change the way you do things, go to Landmark.
Yeah. It's funny, I think Rob mentioned that last week, and I've never really looked into Landmark, but I've certainly heard enough around it. You get some people on, just like any movement, on one side of the fence, like that's just this massive cult. Yeah. And then on the other side is obviously people that have transformed their lives. I think I heard from one friend, Landmark kind of distill it down to be like, we're walking around like meaning-making machines,
Life is empty, meaningless. We're just meaning-making machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole thing that goes along with it, and we did most of the programs. Yeah. But the one thing that I did learn was integrity. It was do what you say and say what you do. Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. And we realize how quickly and how easy it is to just break your line of integrity, to say, oh, I'll be there, but you don't show up. Or, yeah, I'll do that for you in business, and you just don't do it. And it's those, I think it's those small decisions that we make that we break our own promises to ourselves, which also causes disbelief. So everyone always asks, oh, how did you become successful? And people will say, well, believe in yourself. And they're like, well, yeah, but how do I actually do that, right? Yeah. But if we are not in integrity with ourselves and we actually live up to things we tell ourselves we're going to do, then that's where that break in our belief system comes from. That's why we get this imposter syndrome, and then we are driven to build something, create something, and all of a sudden it creeps in. It's because that little monkey on your shoulder inside your mind is saying, you didn't do it last time. No, it's not going to work. You didn't do it last time. Yeah. So this is really where I see the line that starts to be drawn, the difference in the separation between ultra successful people that become experts and can speak on it. It has nothing really to do with their skill, right? Because we can, skills are cheap, right? But it comes down to the dedication and the commitment and the integrity that you've got within yourself of getting to the next level. And then once you're there, now your belief is strong because you're like, I've done it. Everything I said I'll do, I get there. And so then it's a lot easier to cross over the line to success to opposed to standing on the other side of fear.
It's amazing. There's a lot of rewind that because there's a lot of good nuggets there. There's one thing that jumped out of my of your story, and it was, I think might have actually been Brian sharing this on, is it Mike Vestel? Is it his podcast?
Yeah.
And it was something to do with around you'd gone through like one or two business learnings or failures, however you want to label it, and something around reaching out to Deepak Chopra's show, or what's the story around that? I love that.
Yeah, so, I quit my job, I retired Brian, our business is rocking, like we literally within 6 months, I had replaced my 6-figure income and replaced Brian's, and he retired after the first year, and we were building our company. And so I started for 3 years, we really were ramping up, like very cash heavy. It was also in 2005 and 6, when real estate in San Diego was just soaring. You almost couldn't lose. First house we bought for $300,000, we sold it for $850. Second house we bought for $1.5, we sold it for $2.5. Like, it was just ridiculous, right? So things were really working. So we got very cash heavy, and we decided, okay, so it's been like 3 years. Our business is great. This vision that I had to never put a child in daycare is the reason why I quit working. And I had a vow that I would never do that. So I said, okay, let's even do something bigger. Let's invest this money into a real estate development that, really turns into our legacy. And so I can be with my daughter every day. So we did that. And that was in 2007. We invested multiple millions in cash, and we put our name on about $26 million construction loans in a real estate development deal. And here we're thinking we're going to rock it. Well, little did we know, the developer that we were working with was actually a fraud. And we were green, just thinking that nothing could happen to us. And so we signed off our name on these construction loans so that he could build them while I was pregnant. So I didn't have to be part of it. And he sucked out every dime out of the construction loans, and the houses didn't get built.
Wow.
And the banks are like, hey, Swans, knock, knock, knock. The loans are up. Like, no. They're being built. The developer... Like, no, their developer's gone, and the houses are empty, and they're not finished, and you still own these loans. Wow. And the money has been sucked out. So you want to talk about going from on top of the world, so literally to having, people always use this, millionaire status. We literally had physical $1 million in the bank. Like, and it was like, whoa, like, this is a big thing, right? There's so much that comes along with that, and that's another story. However, we stood there realizing that they were going to take it all. We gave it all away, the cash. Now... everything's going to go down. And you want to talk about going from prosperity consciousness and teaching people prosperity consciousness to all of a sudden your identity, all that prosperity and abundance that you thought you had that made you really who you were, is gone. Yeah. So that's when you stand literally. It's I love it. Warren Buffett always says, when the tides go out, you know who's been swimming naked. When the tides go out, you really know who's been swimming naked.
That's a great quote. Right?
And of course, Warren Buffett uses it now during this crisis where people are literally suffering, and they thought, they were big and acting like they were doing a smart job investing. Well, it was the same for us. We, thought we were doing the right things. However, we had nothing to fall back on. We made a really bad decision, put it all in instead of actually preparing in case the tide went out.
Yeah. Wow.
And that question that you asked about Deepak and Wayne is, here we are, we find out we lose everything. Hanalei is just born.
So this is 2008, 2009?
This is 2007.
Oh, 2007.
Yeah, so this is right when the financial crisis is starting to kick in.
Right.
Right, so
the crash hadn't even happened?
No, it hadn't happened.
Wow.
Well, 4, 5, and 6, we're like, yes, we can't lose. Well, here comes 2007.
Yeah.
Brand new baby's born April 17th.
Yeah. How just quickly on that, how elated were you in that time of 4, 5, and 6?
Oh, we felt, and we've said this, and Brian's like, oh, universe, you listened. We said everything that we touched turned to gold.
Because, we'll get to it, and I'll come back in a second, but, have you gone very deep on John's stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the whole, the bigger the fantasy, the bigger the nightmare. What do you believe, was it that situation you reckon? As in, were you really up and elated and manic, and you attracted something to humble you?
Yeah, we truly believe that we weren't ready for the fame and wealth. We weren't ready.
Right. Interesting. Sorry. Carry
on. But we also said that we had this vision of living this great life, of being able to be free. And that was part of our perfect day, which was, we want this perfect day, but we want to be free, and we want to be able to be not tied to things. But that was an opposite of what we were creating.
Yeah.
We were grabbing onto roots with every house we put our name
Exactly.
on, every car we bought, everything we had was just making us more anchored in. But
amazing.
our vision was freedom. So the universe is like, oh, no.
Yeah.
You want this.
That's so fascinating. I just finished I should give you the link. I just finished a series with a coach discussing the 7 Hermetic principles in metaphysics. Oh my gosh. Like, because I'm quite someone that's very analytical and detail focused, and she's very abstract. So as she's trying to explain these abstract concepts, I'm trying to give them meaning.
You're trying to put
give
logic
the detail,
to them.
right? And
Yeah.
she's like, they're not going to made for that. So I've seen that series anyway, but it's fascinating. Yeah.
That's what happened, right? So here we are, thinking that we're on top of the world. However, all along, we were not ready for that type of wealth and that shift. And because I set this commitment to be the best mother, be present in my daughter's life, never put her in daycare, all the actions I was taking were not going to create that. And so we always have to be very aware of what we ask for.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it comes in a very different way.
Yes.
So when we found out we were losing everything,
Yeah.
we're like, whoa, what did we do wrong? What are we who are we gonna be? Our identity was completely shifted, right? So here's this little baby looking at me and I'm going, oh my gosh, I thought I was gonna give you the world. And then I realized that the money in my bank account was not gonna make me the mother or the leader or the person or the contributor to the world. And however, although we were aware of this, we couldn't get through it. Like we literally, our minds couldn't get over it. And so we knew we were going to lose it all, right?
Yeah,
We knew
couldn't get over what part?
the fact of what's happened. Because here, like, think about the identity, right? All of our friends are going, first off, Rhonda, you're crazy because you quit your job, right? And you quit for the internet. So sure, you had a good run. It worked. You retired yourself, you retired Brian, but get back to reality. This happened to you because go back and get your job. You have a brand new baby. Be responsible.
Yeah.
So we've got all this, external environment of people telling us we're wrong again, because I was judged heavily when I did this. Brian didn't even trust me. He's like, you're crazy. You have an MBA. You're a smart person. What are you doing? Internet, online business? What? So his doubt wasn't bigger than my vision, which is what catapulted me, allowed me to go forward. However, when we did get in that spot, we thought, okay, we understand why it happened. We get personal development, right?
Yeah.
We can do
Plug
this.
that in.
However, we could not get through it. And so sure enough, our house is in La Jolla. Deepak Chopra, Frank Kern passed our house to go to their houses, in Mount Soledad. And we turned on Deepak Radio every day and on Saturdays. And sure, Deepak Radio opens and hello everyone, change your thoughts, change your life with Deepak and Wayne Dyer today. Yeah. And if you want to ask a question to Wayne Dyer about how to change your thoughts to change your life, dial in now.
Yeah.
And Brian goes, we got a call. I'm like, okay, I dial in. Of course, I'm not really thinking I'm going to get through.
Yeah.
First one, hello, Rhonda Swan. You're on with Deepak and Wayne Dyer.
No, you're like, what do I ask?
Right?
Yeah.
So we have it recorded. It's on YouTube. You can look up Unstoppable Family, Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I said, look, Wayne, I'm having a real hard time here. This is what happened. And we are having a really hard time getting through it. And I kept talking about it. He goes, well, the problem is you're just too attached to being right. You're making it control you. It can't control you. He's like, it is nothing. You made that decision. It is already gone.
Yeah.
You're just attached to being right. He said, the moment that you separate, that you made the decision, that it is what you wanted, and you forgive the person that did it.
Yeah. Which is the biggest part, boy.
All go away. And I was like, really, Wayne Dyer?
Yeah.
Forgive this guy?
Yeah, exactly.
However, we allowed it to download, and we realized that we are the ones that made the decision. And this is why it's happened, because we've now been traveling for 12 full years.
Yeah.
We left when Hanalei was 1. So when we found out Hanalei was born, we found out June 5th. By November 25th, we were gone. We had sold everything. We left with $12,872 and $12,872.62 left to our name.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 12 years ago. Now we've built multiple empires because of it. Yeah. Because now it's no longer about the stuff.
Yeah.
It's about
but that's a big shift. It's like way back in the day, well, not way back in the day, I'm 30 now, but when I went through a divorce at 25, and I went really deep at that time for whatever reason into mostly like Les Brown and Tony Robbins, because I just needed this, like, just inject me every day. And I remember, it's funny, in one of Les Brown's speeches, I guess you could say, it's kind of like, well, I'm paraphrasing, but it's along the lines of like, you know, people know that money won't make them happy, yet they want to get there and find out for themselves.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you know, I'm still on that journey myself. I feel like I've been on this entrepreneur grind for quite a while, and I'm trying to arrive at a certain like what is, and I'm working with my own coach, but it's like, what is it that you're trying to arrive at? And so the other day she was like, hey, you know, what are your goals for the rest of this year? And one of them was a financial goal. And she goes, great, well, that's your first problem. I want you to go away, and this is John's work, and I want you to write 200 benefits of having no money.
Yeah.
And it's no money, not 200 benefits of having no money and trying to find the solution. It's 200 benefits. And so I started doing that today, and I'm just like, wow, this is difficult. And I can only imagine what that'll kind of shift in my brain as far as not being attached.
And being grateful.
I imagine. Yeah, and that.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, that's, you know, we were at that point. So here, you know, we go from, and think about the shift, right? Here we are standing in a $2 million home in San Diego, you know, 2 Mercedes, an Escalade, all this stuff, right? This is the identity. And then we go from within 5 months, fire sailing it, literally putting everything on the front yard in La Jolla. Deepak, hi Deepak, you want one of my vases?
Right.
Like, there's an ego check there.
Yeah.
We had to get very clear on who we were and who we wanted to be for our daughter, and the contribution we wanted to make to others, because we had then realized we were so shallow. However, we thought we were enlightened, right? We're studying personal development. Tony Robbins is in our mind every day. So is Deepak. So is Wayne.
Yeah.
But this stuff is now making us our identity. So when we let that go, now here we are, get in an airplane. Our first stop was Hanalei Bay, Hawaii, because that's my daughter's name. We were married there. So we're like, let's go somewhere that'll get our mind out of any of that stuff, that will feel like we're just living a tropical paradise, right? We'll feel like we're living a vacation, like, you know, lifestyle, which was Tim Ferriss's suggestion, right? Take a mini retirement. And we're like, well, we got 12 grand. Well, mind you, our house payment, just our mortgage, was 12 grand. So our mindset shift of just the mortgage, not the gas, not the power, not the Wi-Fi, not anything else, was 12 grand. Our monthly, you know, nut, if you will, was about 25K. And now we have half of that. 3 members of a family are going to leave. We got very clear on what we appreciated that had no monetary value.
Yeah.
Just the smiling, hanging out together, walking on the sand, enjoying a giggle with Hanalei, eating a plate lunch that was $3 from Hawaii on the side. You know, they call them, what do they call them? Little wagon side food trucks, food wagons.
Yeah, yeah.
And being grateful that that's the way the Hawaiians do it.
Yeah, yeah. This is very interesting. This has come up now. Not so much like, great, can it teach me a lesson, but so many entrepreneurs, and like I said, I serve, you know, these part-time coaches wanting to go full-time, and me going through this journey at the moment of becoming, say, less attached to the outcome. What changed for you in the family when it came to, like, from as far as I know, you were forced into this experience of like, okay, I need to find this gratitude, rather than let me go through this exercise of, you know, 250 benefits. What was the shift of going through that? Was it less attachment to an outcome of a sales call? Was it less like you just welcomed opportunities to you? Can you remember what that shift felt like?
The shift when actually things started to work for us?
Yeah, or the shift of like kind of changing your identity or shifting your identity to being attached to, you know, $1 million income or this kind of lifestyle, or, you know, and being humble, brought right back to the start to then go, when you kind of started to rebuild, was it your energy just shifted to no longer trying to chase $1 million? Was it, I'm now just going to focus on serving, knowing that the byproduct is money? Like, what was that?
Yeah, well, when you have a very small child that's looking at you and you have this why, all of a sudden the purpose becomes a lot different than giving them things, right? Presence, you know, being able to be present with her every day and realizing, wow, I could have gone to work every day. So this was given to us as a gift. So the way that things started to shift with us is that we obviously really heavily studied personal development. I mean, Tony Robbins was probably one of the strongest voice in our mind, which was put your focus on the impact that you're going to leave, because money is called currency for a reason. It's currency. It's just energy. So supply out to the world the energy that you've got. So we started to tell our story. See, before, when you're in online marketing and you're speaking on stage, you're not telling all the bad things. You're telling about what you've done to make things right.
Yeah.
We started telling the real story. Like, look, we just lost everything, but here we are, and this is our reality now, and we're grateful. And people were flocking, because all of a sudden, these people that they saw before that they thought they could never be like were just like them.
Yeah.
And we were just as happy and excited and elated about the moment that it actually was coming to us a lot faster. Because we just got very real and raw. We had to leave our ego at the door.
This is what people love. And it's just like, I just finished Russell's 3 new books.
Yeah.
And I'm a really, John will speed read a book, and I sit down with a highlighter and study a book. And I'm like, right, I've finished Traffic Secrets. Now I'm going to go back to .com and implement it all, because that's essentially my business model. And discussing, the hero's journey and your origin story and epiphany bridges, all this kind of stuff. I mean, there's just so much gold in there to how you share your message. And I'm sure you do the same thing either with your clients or yourself. It's just so powerful, the framework to be able to share your message authentically, to connect.
And that's what people want, right? They want more authentic voices. I mean, I work in branding. I'm, kind of known as the branding queen. And I've launched over 142 new brands and products just in the last 24 months alone.
Yeah.
And worked with thousands of people.
Yeah.
And it always comes down to sharing your true authentic story. Like, what is the promise you can make? What can you be amazing at? And now starting to connect with people. And everyone thinks that it's just really hard, right? And they're afraid to give. It's not about bringing the skeletons, like, oh my gosh, my dog did this and this happened. People think that they got to tell everything, but it's about those impactful moments that let people go, they're just like me. I can do that.
Yeah.
And then sharing it once you're through it actually helps quite a bit, right? Not sharing it when you're in it, right? Because that, people tend to get afraid of that.
Yeah.
But then it just shows that every step along the way, and so I love Expert Secrets, my daughter's line in the film that we produced for them was, all you have to do is just be one step ahead of someone, and that makes you an expert. And it's true, because if you've got one experience that someone else can get through because of your experience, now you're the expert. Yeah. And if you begin to share that hero's journey and that story, then people are more likely to trust that you can do it.
It's an interesting point, because that transitions into another question that I had, which was, Hanalei saying, you've just got to be one step ahead. And so many people talk about this, and I think even Russell refers to the whole catch me if you can story.
Yeah.
And I get that. You jump over to emotion for a second, and it's a whole nother story, at least for me, and that's why I wanted to ask you. And there's a lot of other coaches and consultants that get stuck in this whole, I believe I can help someone, but they're attached to, can I get them the outcome or the result? Now, I've tried to go through a process of, like, logically, you need to jump on when you onboard someone that you have very clear expectations, or perhaps it's feedback that you're trying to market something that isn't authentic or genuine. What's your experience around either working with coaches, consultants, being in the industry, around this attachment, or maybe it's just my own, of, can I get someone the result or outcome? That's why they've come to me. Do you understand?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that the only way that I've ever told anyone to do something is if I've done it myself, right? So I think any coach or consultant, if they haven't done the work, that's why there will be doubt. It goes back to what I said in the beginning, that as long as your belief will continue to grow, as long as you stay with integrity of what you say you are doing or have done. So I'm confident to say I can help someone create a sexy brand and turn it into a profit machine, because I've done it. Not just for clients, for myself. See, that's the difference that I think that and I love Russell. However, I think some of the teachings have caused people to fake it before you make it.
Yeah.
And they might be like a sliver ahead of the other. However, they haven't gotten the results yet. So you might win on one big hit. However, that's not a result. That's just luck. right? Opportunity and hard work meets, that's luck. But it's the next time you hit it when it's like, okay, now we're finding a pattern. You actually have a skill.
Yeah.
You actually know what you're doing.
Have a framework.
Now you have a framework. Now you have a methodology. Now you can walk someone down your path.
Yeah.
Some go a lot quicker. Others take a lot longer. I was, when I started my company, I called 3,000 leads in the first 3 months.
The branding company?
When I first quit my job, the personal development company, I was selling personal development products, right? I was an affiliate of a high top tier network marketing company that sold personal development products.
That's how Tony Robbins started with Jim Rohn, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I called 3,000 people, never made one sale. 3 months, 3,000 leads. Wow. I don't know how many people these days, this is before any social media was around. I mean, I was Les Brown hungry, right? Yeah. Because I wanted that vision. But that's the difference. See, I couldn't teach anyone right then. In those first 3 months, no chance. The next month, I had a small result. Then the third month, 37K. But I still wasn't qualified to teach people what I did yet because I had no pattern. It was still bouncy all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, yes, part-time coaches can do amazing things. And if they have the belief and they've already done and created a result. And I think really that's the difference. Now, that could be a very small result, but as long as they're creating a result for someone, then they should have the confidence to continue. But there is a difference in positioning, right? I work in branding. So I tell my clients, look, how's your brand positioned? Are you the best kept secret, or are you the world's best known expert? Are you unbelievable at what you do and no one has a clue, or are you a great marketer, but you are shiz at what you do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's so interesting because again, we're pulling from a couple of similar backgrounds, but there's one thing that Russell touches on, and this more comes down to someone's impatience. That I think with an expert, he'll say, "Great, you've got your frameworks or what you think will work." But the step I think so many people miss if they are reading his material is go and find a beta group to take it through. And it depends. Like some people, it's like they get impatient because it's like, oh, but the result that I want to help people with might take 3 months or 4 months. And they're like, well, how do I earn an income in 4 months? But it's like mastering and knowing that you need those people to show what you're saying works, and you can get them X result. Also helps with the testimonials and social proof that you can do it, right? So I think that's it's a big piece of the puzzle people miss.
Well, it's the biggest. I mean, okay, so you said one thing. How do I start if I have to make money? Well, first off, this is why Jim Rohn always said, work full-time on your job and part-time on your passion or your side hustle.
Yeah.
So you have to do that. I quit cold turkey and I stretched every credit card I had. I was actually under the gun heavily. Now, Brian and I were making good money, but I was still living up to the Joneses.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it. I was under the gun. I was constantly stressed out. And one person said one thing to me, and this is really important that everyone should hear, is I wasn't making one sale. 3 months, I wasn't making a sale, and I couldn't really figure it out. And it had a lot to do with me needing money. And a guy says to me, and actually it was Bob Proctor after an event, and he's like, I said, Bob, I'm having this, I'm having a roadblock here. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm good at. Like, I love these products, everything. He goes, well, what are you doing when you're contacting them? And I said, well, I'm thinking about, I'm going to make the sale, make $1,000 per sale, and, do this. He goes, that's your problem.
Not serving.
You are putting dollar signs on their forehead, and that's all they feel.
Yeah.
So they're running from you because all you're trying to do is making a sale and you're not serving. And that's a shift. And so if somebody gets that and says, okay, I've got a core competency, I've got a framework now, all right, I'm going to use my daily to fund my hustle, right? And even now today, I've been, we've built multiple 7-figure empires. I'm the CEO of a large, branding agency. I make $2,000 a day myself. Just to keep myself honest. I don't care how much money my company makes a day. If I don't make $2K a day, it could be $20K, but it still counts as $2K. But I don't do that myself and keep myself honest in my pulse. There's no drive, right? So I'm constantly seeing and seeking what others are needing so that our company maintains its honesty.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love that. And as you were talking about Bob Proctor before, that helps me transition into how did you even because as far as I'm aware, like John certainly isn't exposed to the masses. Like he definitely plays it down here because he doesn't like using the persuasion, the rhetoric in his marketing, right? So how did you...
Polar opposites, right?
Yeah. How did you get to... How did you come across John and his work?
Well, John was in The Secret.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So that was an easy one.
Uh-huh.
However, when my daughter and I were both invited by a company called AWOL to speak 2 years ago. They flew us out first class. They said, you guys are going to be the keynote speakers. And I didn't know John was there. Now, I know of John because of the work that he's done, and I knew about his book and The Secret, of course. I'm very deep into really understanding the power of the mind and the choices that we make and the things that we can create. And I'm not, I would call myself a spiritual realist. So a lot of the airy-fairy-ish style spiritual talk, I get lost a bit. It feels good, the abstracty talk, I get lost a bit because it feels good and I get it. However, I'm also quite logical.
Yeah.
Right? And so I want to understand the science of it. I want to know what the brain's doing. I want to know the neurotransmitters that are being fired and are triggering, and that's why they're rewiring together, like Joe Dispenza says, and that's why I'm creating a new pathway, and boom, now I'm creating new results. Yeah. Like, I get that. You're right. I love the airy-fairy stuff, don't get me wrong. I'm American Indian. My great-grandmother was a Cherokee Indian chief. She was a medicine woman. Right. So we used to do some, Indian stuff. Yeah. However, my grounded belief system's there. And so when we get to this event, I speak, Hanalei speaks, John speaks. I'm sitting there like, this is John. This is John DeMartini from The Secret, right? And he's mapping the highest values. And Hanalei speaks right after John. And I didn't know this, but John apparently usually leaves right after he speaks, and he goes, away because he's quite busy. He stood there, and his jaw was dropped, and he was just listening the whole time. And we got off stage, and he's like, I want to meet this kid. And so he's asking us, so what do you do with her? Is she in school? And she's like, no, I dropped out 2 years ago. And I'm thinking, oh boy, are we going to say the wrong thing? He goes, so what does she do all day? Because Hanalei at 8 started her first company. She made 6 figures by the time she was 9, and she's created a sustainable impact company that gives to those around us, gives uniforms to children in India, and supports the kids here in Bali, etc. And so he's like, what does she do all day? And she goes, well, I draw all day and I design, and that's kind of what I do. We're like, oh no, is he going to go, you're horrible parents? He goes, this is fascinating. Yeah. How long was she been out of school? What does she do every day? And he's like, can we meet again? And then, of course, we sit and we're talking with John, and he's like, I'm just enamored. So this is a child that has been able to live her highest values. She's an artist. She's a designer. And the school stuff is kind of around, but not really the most important. She's an intelligent person, and she does have a mentor, and we make sure that she stays stimulated. But we don't tell her what to do ever, not one day. She sets up her goals. She does what she wants to do each day, and she draws. And then the things she's inspired by, she goes after. She reads a book. She goes here. And so that's how we met John. And now, of course, he's become one of Hanalei's, our closest friends, but mentor as well.
That's beautiful. And it's so, like, when you can come from that. Have you done the breakthrough experience?
We haven't. We were there in London. We were speaking at an event in London, and he was having, I believe, one of the events there. And we caught up. We had lunch with him, and Hanalei spoke quickly during the event.
That's the one that I sent to Brian.
Yeah, exactly.
John did an awesome interview with Brian Rose. I think when he was in London. I think it was in London, but
were you in London?
No. I'd seen the video, and I was like, like, as far as me being introduced to the Swan family, it was like seeing you guys through ClickFunnels and getting your 2 Comma Club, and then it was also through. Actually, the very first was when John was giving a public talk in South Africa, talking about this amazing young girl, which was Hanalei.
Right.
And then I'm like, let me go. And then I went down. That was probably like a year ago. So you've been on my radar for a year.
Wow,
and I'm
so
like,
cool.
I need to interview this. So, but what you just said there was really interesting, at least from me, because I probably studied John's work for about, 3 years and going quite deep. And the one thing that I found really interesting is Brian was sharing how you had a friend over. I think they were like, so there was something in fashion. and Hanalei was sleeping or
that's
something.
how we discovered that she was a fashion designer.
But this is a perfect example of someone having something high in their values and then being more aware to whatever comes up, right? So go from sleeping to up and be like, I'm a fashion designer. That's really interesting. That's a great example of that being at play.
That's it, because it was in her consciousness and her subconsciousness. She was dead asleep,
Yep.
and we asked this woman, what do you do? See, but when Hanalei was 7, we had asked her, and this is where this really started to ignite, is instead of asking her, what do you want to be when you grow up? You know, most kids will tell you, doctor, they tell you what you want them to say, right? That's what they're always trying to get approval. We said to Hanalei, what do you want to be now when you grow up, right now? And I remember saying this, we were in Costa Rica, we actually have a video of it, and it was bizarre. We didn't even know all this was going to be so impactful. And you could see her mind. She's like, I don't know. Maybe I want to be a fashion designer. Maybe I want to be an artist. So she was kind of already speaking to existence, right? So that was, 2 years before. She was like 5. And we asked her then at 7, what do you want to be right now? Like, really, what is it that you want to do? And she said, give me a little bit of time. I'm going to really think about it. That night, we have to leave our house because, in Bali is super hot, no air. The power went out.
Right.
We go to a hotel, and it was a tiny little boutique place. It was not a boutique. It was a warung, let's get real. And it was like this little teeny shacky place. And like, all I need is air. We go in, and these 2 women are eating dinner. And that was all that was in there. 1 bottle of wine, because I love red wine, and 2 ladies with Italian meal. I'm like, okay, we're staying. So we're having a chat. Hanalei's asleep.
Yeah.
And we ask her what she does. She told us fashion designer. Hanalei flies up. I'm a fashion designer too. And the lady's like, well, if you're a fashion designer, you probably have your book with you and your sketchbook. She goes, of course. Brian and I look at each other. We're like, what?
Yeah.
Where did she even come from? She's got this book, slides it across, and there are sketches, hundreds of sketches, and we still have them to this day.
Yeah.
Unbelievable sketches that have become her most recent collection.
Isn't it amazing? The thing that I find absolutely amazing about that is, I won't go off on a tangent here, but when kids are not fed limiting beliefs or had the opportunities to develop limiting beliefs depending on their environment. Another great example of this is Russell Brunson's now trying to encourage families and children. And then you're having, like, again, whether they're validated or real or not, you're having these kids come up on stage with 2 Comma Club awards, all this kind of stuff, and it's just like, what? And that's when also the thought comes in, like, if they can do it, I can do it.
Well, and there's 2 sides to that, isn't there? Right? So here's a child that we're trying to raise as a conscious human and a contributor that doesn't have an ego or attachment to things, right? And here we are trying to teach her not to have to ever peel the onion, which so many adults have to. And then we've got a belief, hey, let's get a 2 Comma Club award. Let's sell a bunch of stuff. Let's do this. So we've had to be very mindful of that.
Right.
Very mindful. In fact, when Hanalei said, I want a 2 Comma Club award, we said, why? What is the impact that's going to do? Who's it going to affect? How many lives are you going to change? How many people are you going to be able to communicate with? Who are you giving to? And she didn't understand that at first, right? But now everything she knows that she sells splits up into 3 categories: giving, saving, and spending, right? And we physically give over 1/3 of any of the revenue that's taken in by the company away. And that alone, you have to be mindful, because we could start teaching kids, because it's exciting when you're an entrepreneur, right? Contests. I mean, I love it. I'm a competitive person.
Yeah,
I like to win. I got 2 Comma Club awards right now. I've got a 3rd on the way. We got Hanalei's funnel rocking right now. She's really close. And you have to remember, though, what is the impact that message is giving to your child?
Yeah, not to lose that, right? And that's what I love about the whole framework of, like, be, do, have. Who are you being, doing? Because it's like the doing is the altruistic, the having is the narcissistic, and them together is the being, right? Which is like the synthesis. But to kind of be respectful of your time, I mean, I could talk to you for a few hours, so we might have to do this again.
Well, you'll have the whole family, which will even better.
Yes, for sure.
The individual stories, and then we piece them all
together. No, that'll be fantastic, actually. Maybe I come up to you for that and see
that
your
would be
place.
great. I have a studio. I'd love to have you. And I'll interview you?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So I want to leave with this, and this was inspired a little bit from Russell's, because he loves the whole superhero Marvel, or it's a good way to teach. But I wanted to leave with a question, which was, if you were to create an entrepreneur like Marvel team, the superhero team, right? Who would be in it? And I'm talking about different areas of life, from Who's in it from either the mentor, from the like spiritual connection to the sales to the marketing? Like, who's in this dream team?
Oh, that's a really cool one. All right, so I'm not going from the top of my head, so I can go quickly, because that's usually when you know the most. Certainly, John DeMartini would be our grounded space. He would be our guru for our minds and really living up to our highest values.
Okay.
Russell Brunson on the technical and the marketing, the driven side.
Okay.
Do they have to be alive?
That's a good one. No, they don't have to be alive. So, like, who would be in sales then?
Zig Ziglar, old school Zig Ziglar sales.
Nice. He's got such a smooth voice.
Yeah, he's great. Like, he's one of my favorites.
He's fantastic. And who would be branding if it wasn't yourself? Personal branding.
Richard Branson.
Richard Branson. Oh,
Virgin.
yeah? Really? Okay, he's got a fantastic... Yeah, you obviously read his book. Well,
Of course.
Love his book. And then health and physical.
Oh, what's his name? I can see his face.
Ben Greenfield?
Nope. Fit for Life guy. I really loved him. Forget his name. He wrote the book Fit for Life.
Okay. I'll attach that at the end. And then last one, financial.
Alan Green.
I'm not familiar with Alan Green.
He also wrote the book with 50 Cent.
So by telling me that that's your superhero team also tells me those are the people that have had the most influence over those areas of life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, this has been awesome. Like I said, we could talk for hours, but Hanalei's probably outside starving, waiting for her mum.
She's at Schmerger Burger.
Yeah. So, but for those kind of listening, thanks for tuning in. This is, for me, being one of the most inspiring interviews, and I'm certainly looking for more of these type of interviews, so I'll also talk to you about after this. But in one of the upcoming, we'll certainly perhaps head up to Rhonda and Brian's in the Swan's family, beautiful place in Uluwatu, and I'll interview all of them and see what they kind of come together as a dynamic.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
I mean, the more we can share our story authentically,
Yeah.
the more others can know that they can do it too.
Perfect.
And I always leave everyone with this. If you're going to create a brand, create a sexy brand. And if you're going to be anything, be unstoppable.
Fantastic. And just quickly as we leave, I'll put in the show notes the links where to kind of go and find you, Rhonda. But where else is the best place to connect with you? Just those links that you sent me?
Yeah, well, Rhonda Swan on Instagram is where I'm pretty daily.
Yeah.
Our Unstoppable family. We, of course, have a website and Instagram as well. So the links that I gave you kind of have like the stuff that we do and the freebies that we give away.
Linktree.
Yeah,
Okay.
the Linktree stuff. However, on Instagram on Unstoppable Family and Rhonda Swan.
Okay.
You'll connect to all of us. If you go to Unstoppable Family, you'll know how to find us.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for coming, and
Yeah.
we'll see you guys on the next show of Interview the Expert or Expat. Thanks, guys.